Hey guys, Tyler here. If you haven't recognized by my beautiful voice, I'm here this week to choose one of my favorite episodes, and I will have to say season 1 or my bad, season 2, episode 1, and it was Denny's ghost walking episode. He finally was told his story about his paranormal spiritual afterlife experience. And I want to say, like, for me, like, I've heard him tell this. Like, I actually was there for part of it. Like, I want to say towards the tail end of his experience dealing with this. And I'm glad that he finally let it out and told everybody his experience. And, like, I feel like it's a unique way, and I've never heard it told in this way. So, I know, like, if you guys don't remember, it was a heavy episode, so it hit close to home on certain topics. So, like, yeah, I don't know, I was just glad because I was sitting back listening to the story, and it was, I love when he tells it. Like, it's actually inspired. Like, I guess you would say inspiring, if you will. So, like, I don't know what else really to say about it. It was a very unique conversation. Glad that he told the story. So, like, let's get into it and let's listen to that show. And before I forget, if you have an encounter and you want to be on season 3, which is going to be dropping February the 2nd, you can hit us up on Facebook, or you can send it to our email. That's encounters@kyxfiles.com. Or you could send it to our website. We have a website now. Yay! That's www.kyxfiles.com. Join the campfire, guys. Mwah!
Welcome to the Kentucky X-Files, Season 2, with your hosts Dennis Mays, Tyler Stewart, and Josh Gibbs. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Now, on to our show.
It was coming towards me. Just crouched down. For me, at first, I thought it was just a footage thing.
I thought it was a bear. You could tell that it was a small, spindly leg creature, something with a larger foot. And it was big. Whenever it was, ran straight down at us, you just stopped. It was pitch black. Couldn't see it.
And most of these witnesses that come close to these scenes could have been killed.
It was beating on the side of the house. I guess it hit the side of the house as it went by.
Now, when it stood up, that's when I knew it was gone.
Like, I needed someone to have pure faith in a higher power at that moment, and nobody fucking did.
It's so cold. Now what can we do? I spend all my time howling at the moon and missing you.
Welcome back, guys, to the Kentucky X-Files. Episode 1, Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Here we are.
Yep. Season greetings.
Yeah, Season 2 greetings.
Season 2 greetings.
So, last season. That's so weird to say, last season. I teased about this all year. I didn't mean to tease about it, but to get into the mind state to actually tell it, it's it takes a lot. You know, I'm so freaking exhausted that I don't feel like it's gonna hit me like it usually does. But I said that I would tell all of you sort of a ghost story. You know, it's one that's kind of been with me for a few years, and it's only recently kind of this is a terrible way to describe it, but it's like kind of dried up. I don't know. Maybe that'll make sense later. I don't know, but it was like a brief part of my life that started in 2016. I started to have these really vivid, intense dreams. And in those dreams, I would have the deceased loved ones, one in particular, come to me and literally talk to me and explain things to me. And at first I thought that it was kind of just wishful dreaming, just like, oh man, it'd be, have you ever sat there and you thought about somebody that's gone, I know you have, and you say to yourself, man, what would I'd give, just one more minute, and I got that minute, I got it a few times, and that's shit that I learned. There was no way of learning it, so I still wrap my head around it, and I still wrestle with the obvious question of, did it really happen or didn't it happen? Maybe I overheard some of that stuff, and maybe I picked it up somewhere along the line, and it just fell into my dream at some point, and it just aligned perfectly. This perfect illusion, maybe, of information, Well, it started in 2016. My wife and I decided, my now wife, then fiance, we decided that we wanted to find a new house. We wanted a farm. We wanted something bigger, get some animals. We wanted our children to grow up on a farm and just to know everyday things like that, just taking care of animals, and it's what we consider real life, just not like computers and phones and tablets and shit, just, like outside and watching things being born and watching life grow and being a part of that and helping it, and we started looking around. We found a place, and we went to it. It was I can't remember the area. It's not too far away from here. I want to say it's like kind of like off of the crossroad area, like where the crossroads are. Mm-hmm. It was back there somewhere. I'm just I can't remember the road name. But we went to the place with a realtor. Friend, she was with us when we bought our house, so we just went with her again, and we went there and we walked the property and was looking around. There's this massive barn, and I liked it immediately because there was John Deere tractors everywhere. It just broke down John Deere tractors, and I kept thinking, like, man, this would be so cool to maybe restore a couple of these, like tinker, you know what I mean? That'd be really fun, and I could see sitting out here and just enjoying this place and just doing that, and there was like all these hay fields that were, they hadn't been, nobody had used them in a while, but they were there, they were ready, like you could just get hay going. And I thought, God, this would be cool. I could even have somebody come in and bale that, and just, there's some extra money for the farm, sell that off. And there was this giant peacock that was walking around the farm by itself. It had no mate, no other one, and just every now and again it would make that sound, and at first, we were like, what the hell was that? And then we saw it and we're like, oh my God, there's a peacock. And they literally said like, yeah, the peacock literally comes with the place. And I'm like, that's so cool. I love peacocks. They're neat. Like that sounds creepy, but hey, I like them, So we got really excited, walked the whole property, just imagining all these possibilities, like this possible new life, The house was in less than perfect shape. It was a fixer-upper, to be really generous about it. But at the same time, it was like we were so in love with the idea of it that we were willing to overlook that, And our realtor, she was new to this. She didn't know anything. We were asking questions, and she literally didn't know anything about the place because she'd just seen it when we sent that we wanted to go look at it. So we didn't know anything about the place. We were just like, she goes, well, what do you think? Do you want to try to make an offer, And we're like, well, we want to think about it, and then, we'll give you a call, and we'll, all this, that and the other thing. And we left, and over the next week, we talked about it a lot, and we were, looking at pictures that we took of the place, and all this. And I had this dream. Or in my dream, I was walking through his field. And it was the field at that place. Because we'd just done it. We just walked through it. And I'm walking through the same field, and my grandfather's standing there. And he's been gone since I was a boy. I was little. And I remember in my dream, it felt like... It didn't feel like... I didn't feel like I was imagining him there. It felt like he was just gone for a minute, and he just walked around the corner. It was that feeling of like, the person's there, and they just turn the corner, and you're like, oh hey, it was that. It wasn't, it wasn't so unreal to me that it wasn't enough to startle me awake. And I remember in my dream, I literally was saying, I was like, oh, Papa, there you are. I was like, I missed you. He said, this is the path. I remember saying, what do you mean? He said, this is the path you're on. He said, this place is a good place. He said, the man who owned it, he's gone, and the wife she's coming soon. I said, but don't worry about that. She'll be fine. But this is the path that you're on. She's sick. And I'm like, oh, this is really this. Should I go for this? Should I do this? And he just kind of like, just remember this is the path. Just remember, and keep walking, keep going. So when I woke up, I was powerfully shaken, I guess is the word. I don't know. I can't even tell it now without reacting to it. I can still see it. Even though it's nowhere near as vivid anymore. It's the years just steal more and more. But I still feel how I felt, even if I can't see it like I saw it. I woke up, I was upset. My wife woke up. She's like, "What's wrong?" I told her the whole thing. She took it as a sign. She said, "Well, let's go back. Let's go back and let's make an offer on it." So I just went along. I'm like, okay, it sounds good. And we went back. We walked the place again. I even walked the spot. from my dream, same spot. And I stood there for the longest time, and I was like, I don't know if I expected something to happen or, but I just sat there like, it was just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Nothing like that's ever happened, what the, really? And she was just, my wife, she was standing there, she was quiet and just watching me, and I don't think she wanted to even say anything, like maybe it would interrupt something, I don't know. We were deciding we were going to try to put together an offer, we got in the cars and we were pulling down the driveway, and we were stopped by the realtor that was actually like it was one of his places that he was trying to sell. And he's like, how did you guys get in here? And our realtor, she's like, well, I'm with so-and-so, and I use the code, and I got the key, and all that. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, this is coming off of the market. He's like, this is the, in this car over here, this is the son, and his wife. And they were like, yeah. And then he literally, out of nowhere, he's like, yeah, the family's been through a lot. He's like, his father's passed away, his mother's sick in the hospital, she's dying. And that's the moment. I look over at Kat, and she's sobbing. Like, she can't, it was too much. Because I just relayed all this to her, told her everything that I was told. And I was sitting there in shock. I was just literally, I've never been in shock before, I've knocked myself out on a four-wheeler, like I've literally traumatized my body, and I never felt shock like I felt at that moment, because at that moment, all of a sudden, I didn't know shit. And I thought I knew. I thought I fucking knew, and I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I knew in an instant that 90% of my disbelief in things and cynicism with those type of things was shaken. Because I didn't have any way of, I didn't even know their name. I didn't even know anything about them. I didn't know. I had no reason to make a guess like that. I didn't pick up some clue from the house, or, you know what I mean? There was nothing. So we didn't end up making an offer. The son was taking the farm, he was keeping it. And I was glad, but I was really fucking confused. Like, I'm like, okay, well, even my wife was like, but you're in your dream, he said that was the place. I was like, no, he said it was the path. He didn't say it was the place. He said it was a path, like, I just didn't understand, It was so weird, And I've tried, like, I've told a handful of people. This will undoubtedly be the most people I've ever told at once, for sure. But I've told a handful of people, and even disputed with my wife a little bit about whether I should tell this on here. Like I said last season, this is the ghost story of my life. But you know what? It didn't span my whole life. I'm not a spirit medium. I don't. Yeah, I didn't have the childhood where I grew up seeing ghosts and Bruce Willis and all that. It didn't happen. None of that happened to me. This was one of a handful of moments, and they're over. I mean, they've come and went. I think it was a couple years later. Our house hunt kind of died down due to just honestly not finding anything and struggling with money, trying to just get by and paying for the house that we had, and it was just draining us, constant repairs to the house, constant everything, and we just shelved it. We started getting the idea that maybe we should just fix the house up and sell it, and then go out into whatever. And another dream came, out of nowhere. And in that dream, which was a lot shorter, it didn't really, I don't think there was any lesson in that one. It was almost as if I was being shown like, hey, we're still keeping an eye out. We're still here. And then that was the first time I realized that it was a we're, not an I. Because in that one, I saw my grandfather's old house. An old house that, he spent a lifetime working on and making bigger and raising a family in and playing music in. And in it, there was clocks everywhere. Like these little clocks, and he was just tinkering, and I saw more old family members that I hadn't seen, in years and years and years, all throughout the house doing different things, and I was kind of standing there and I'm like, this is like, oh my God, you're alive, and that was the worst part of it, is your brain, it's like you see him moving, you see him interacting in the detail, all the way down to paying attention to the thumbnail of someone when they pick up something. And most of the time in your dream, you don't do that. You don't look at those details. You don't pay attention to the veins in someone's eyes and things like that. You see a glossed over version of reality that your brain is keeping you asleep with. And in that one, I just sat there and watched. I sat there and watched, and I remember asking, I was like, what is all this? How is this? Are you alive? You're alive. You're here. And he kind of just chuckled to himself, and he's like, we keep on going. We keep doing what we do. And I'm like, so I'm really here. I'm really here with you. I remember saying, I was like, Papa, is there a God? Like, what other chance am I going to have to ask this? And he literally just shakes his head and laughs, and he goes, now, if I tell you the truth about that, you're going to make it difficult on a lot of people. And he's like, he just kind of laughed it off. Like it was almost as if it was just like I remember. Like he was amused by it, but he wasn't going to bite into it. Like I couldn't bait him into nothing. I was the disadvantage, not him. This was his place. I woke up. Simple as that. There was a question though that he had asked me. I'm sorry if I'm jumping. It's really hard to remember these things in an order. But when I asked that and he shook it off and laughed, he actually asked me, he's like, did you ever really need one? And then it was it. I was awake, I was back. I remember waking up and I was like, did I get an answer? But I've come to realize later on, as I get older, that it was my grandfather screwing with me. It wasn't. It was like the question of, is there a God, is not the important question at all. That's not the question, and that's the thing I wrestled with. Was I thought that was important at that time. Now I understand that whether or not I need there to be one is more important than if there is one. And it took me, a decade almost, to like figure this out. But, coming around, slow learner, I guess, whatever. So, as traveling down the wheel a little bit, the family business that we were working on started to suffer from, it was like what the hell was it, man? It happened before this. It was like something that happened in the economy, and we were struggling just to keep up and to keep afloat. some other stuff happened, which I won't air out on here because it's honestly it's not my place to. And I started to get the very real worry of, I got kids, there's an uncertainty here that I'm not used to. As things are up in the air and I'm scared, And I remember, as that kind of progressed, that I had a dream again. And in that one, something had happened where I didn't recall most of what happened to me in the dream. But my wife, somehow it affected her. Whereas she went straight to the place where I was going to a couple times at that point, and she saw people that were long gone, and it just absolutely just destroyed her. Like when she woke up, she was beside herself. And I kept thinking, I'm like, oh shit, like what if I did this to her? What if what's happening to me is, what if it affected her, or something? And she said that when I was sleeping, my breathing would be steady, and then it would slow, and then it would slow more, and it would slow to the point where it scared her. And then she said that when it got to that point where my breathing was so slow, she said that, even touching me, I was cold, and it freaked her out. And I just told her, I was like, just, if I'm like that, don't touch me. Don't brush up against me, wrap yourself up, go sleep on the couch, do whatever you got to do. Just don't touch me, if it's too much. Well, I don't know how fully happened in that dream, but I remember there was a little bit of it where I was walking down this odd street, which later on I nicknamed it the bridge. And as I was walking down it, I saw her grandmother on her front porch, and there was no business. This house had no business being on this street with these other houses. It didn't make sense. It was completely against the way my brain works. It was not right, and it bugged me, and I just didn't like it because I'm like, this isn't right. That wasn't there. That was over on a hill up over here, not even in this state. And then even I think I might have even voiced that this house wasn't even in this state. And I remember someone saying, like, state? Like almost as if like saying that states are over on your side. We don't have that here. That's a waste of time. But I remember the look, because her grandmother was there. She was looking at me, and I'll never forget the look. Which I imagine that anybody could perceive things differently. They could perceive it however they would. There's a lot to say about a grandparent giving you a look. You take it a certain way. This look that I got from this lady was like kind of like I'm waiting for you to do something. And then it planted the seed in my brain when I woke up, when I woke up later on, I remember thinking to myself, we're not married. We're not married yet. She's upset. She wanted us to be married, and we're not. And that was the look, And it was interesting too, because, at some point I remember asking about her grandfather, who was nowhere to be found at this time. And even my grandfather had told me, he's like, yeah, he's lost, but we're working on it. He'll be all right. We're gonna get him. or whatever. We're going to go get him. We're going to bring him back, And I didn't really understand. I was like, how do you mean? You know what I mean? And then he told me that the grandmother, Kat's grandmother, when she first got there, she was very dissatisfied. Which I was kind of like, I admired the hell out of her. She was awesome. But I remember that she was very devout, very devoutly religious. And what I gathered is it wasn't what she imagined. So, I mean, at first, and like I said, I'm making a lot of assumptions on this. I can only offer my opinion of how I interpreted it. But at first, it seemed like she got there. It wasn't what she wanted. It wasn't what she was told to expect. But then through that challenge, she resolved to make it what she wanted it to be. To make it. And it was in God's name that she did it. Even if the other folks there weren't on the same page as that, it was okay. Because to her getting there, and there was no bright, gate, no angels around or whatever, it wasn't that they weren't there. It was that she had to put in the work there to bring that to this place. And there was a lot of others that felt the same way. So I started to understand. I was like, okay, so everybody's got their little slice of this sandbox, and you do with it what you will to make the bigger picture better, or at least that's how I perceived it, It was interesting, During that time, somewhere in there, I lost an uncle. I saw him again in a dream. I saw him standing next to his own garage, confused. He just couldn't make sense of it. He was, and I remember him looking right at me, and he kind of just didn't. It was almost as if he wanted me. It was like he almost wanted me to explain it, but at the same time, he was almost coming to the realization himself at the same time. He had that look on his face. That it was right there on the tip of his tongue, but he just couldn't quite put his thumb on it. But then nobody else was around him. There was no one there to walk him through it. It was just, I don't know, or maybe they already did. Maybe he was just going back to rewalk it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe disbelief. I have no idea. I wish I could say I came out with all these crazy just revelations, but I just didn't. I don't think we can get it. They don't work like us. They don't work at all like us. Time doesn't really happen for them. Or maybe it does. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it. It seems like if I run into them or one of them over a period of a year or two, for me, lots of weeks and days and months have gone by, but for them it might have been yesterday or earlier this morning. It just doesn't seem to apply. That path, the bridge, it connects. It connects oddly, and it's us. We are the ones that build the connections. We build the neighborhoods. I don't know if that makes sense either. It's almost like you are the pivot point of what they experience, or whatever, the nexus of it. These people might not have even really known each other in life, but through you, they're neighbors there. I guess,
In a way, I've heard these stories countless times.
Yeah.
But through my interpretation, when I hear it, I really feel like I don't think you're fully getting these people. No. You're getting a piece of them.
Yeah.
what you saw. Like, so, like, because there's probably another piece connected somewhere else, another loved one.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the connection, these bridges that you have between these people, because they actually had some type of meaning in your life.
I'll say something, and I mean no disrespect, at all, but it feels like hive mindish. Does that make sense? Like, for this person here to know that they're looking for this person, but those two probably never met each other.
Yeah.
It feels like very hive mind.
Yeah, to me, I always looked at it like it's they know they're connected somehow. Maybe they don't know how until the connection's made. I don't know.
Well, I think it is how to put it. If anything, we've always established that energy can't be destroyed, and we are energy. So in a way, I feel like that energy, we are all one at the end of our life. So we all basically have a connection with even people that we don't even know.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we all started together at the center of the universe at one point, right?
And I feel like you go back to it.
Yeah. And
plus, too, is I feel like we create. I feel like that was the thing. I think what it is that we are creating our own paradise, our own heaven, if you will.
Yeah.
Is because no matter what, we want to be surrounded even after, even on your deathbed, you always want to be close to the people that you care about. Yeah. And even after death, and I feel like you take that with you.
Well, it's, I got kind of obsessed with the whole thing during, in between, and I researched and I looked into mediums, psychic mediums. I looked into all this stuff, and I've never been able to, maybe somebody hears this. Maybe they'll, I know in a past episode someone had mentioned a term, walking the line.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
But they said that there was a woman down there somewhere who experienced the same things, and I would really love to speak with that person, and but it honestly, like, my story, it wasn't. I still don't really know.
I feel like you'll never know. Like, because I don't even think people that, like, I don't know, like, any mediums personally.
Yeah.
But I know there's probably some out there that are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. But I feel like if they're out there, they don't know anything. They're just getting bits and pieces of something, and they can't answer any questions more than we can. It's hard to explain something that I don't think you're a part of. You're seeing glimpses, but you're not a part of that world, so you really can't answer those questions from that side because you're not a part of it. You have some kind of connection with it.
Yeah. But see, I don't feel connected at all anymore.
No,
I feel like it's done.
It's done.
It's done. And the reason is because, what was it? Me and the wife got married, and shortly after that, I'd had the dream of her grandparents together on their front porch, and her grandfather was sitting there, and he had a newspaper. And I remember her grandmother sitting there, and she kind of gave me this nod, a little grin, and I kind of just, okay, we're good now, we got married.
It's about time.
Yeah, it was like she was glad, but it was.
She wanted to hit you with a newspaper.
She would hit me with her cane.
Yeah.
She would have hit me with that cane. She threatened me with that cane. She was awesome. But it was, it was interesting. And I remember making the comment to my grandfather, who was usually walking with me, whether I knew it or not. Sometimes I would just kind of like, oh, like
he's always your guide through this.
And I was like, oh yeah, you got him. You found him. And he's like, yeah, we got him. He's okay. He's gonna be okay. And that's when, when I was curious. When I said, I was like, it's like a bridge. It's like a bridge. It's like you guys are. It's like one big bridge leading from one place to another. And he was like, you build it. You build it. And I was like, okay. And I took that as my own meaning, which I told you guys before. Yeah. That was my meaning to it. But I don't know, But shortly after that, we decided we were going to take this trek and we were going to move to the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this was one of my favorite times that it happened. Me and my dad spent a couple days digging up the hillside looking for this old water line so that we could prove to the water company that it was there, so they would come in and redo it for us. And they came out a couple of times and they're like, guys, we don't even have a record of it. It's not here. It's never been here. And I mean, man, we had a little excavator and we were just like trashing this whole part of this place, just digging up everything. Could never find it, My dad was a little frustrated by it because he swore he knew where it was, and we got metal detectors out and we're walking around. And we're like, this thing's long gone. And I'm like, it's probably freaking rusted to nothing by now, Well, it was a couple nights later I had a dream. And my grandfather's sitting on the stump and he's smiling. And the stump was sitting there. Like, it was actually there where we cut the tree down and cut all the... So the stump was there. That was... The continuity of it was there. And I was like, hey, Papa, I did it. I'm at the farm. I made it. And he said, son of my son, I know you did. He's like, but you're just starting the work you're going to do. You've just begun. So, just... keep a stride, you know what I mean? Don't freak out too much or whatever, just keep a stride. But you're on it, you're doing it. And I was so excited, and I remember him leaning back on that stump, and he kind of was smiling, and I just kind of faded out of the dream and I woke up. Be damned if that water line wasn't sitting right there. It was right behind where that stump was sitting. Because I got this, the next day is when it dawned on me. And I was like, Dad, dig right there. And he sure as shit, he, bam, right in there, started raking it, and there's the lid, just flips right up. After we spent days digging that whole hillside to shit, I have this fucking dream. And it's right there. And the stump thing was random. We were just chilling out, flipped the stump up, sat on it. There was no rhyme or reason to it. I didn't fucking have the two rods out there finding it. You know what I mean? It was literally just the most random thing. And somehow it just fit. It just fit. Remember we were talking recently about a thunderstorm. A thunderstorm's coming and you're having this dream, and in your dream this guy comes up and he pulls a gun on you. And right as he pulls the trigger, you hear the thunder for the first time. Now, how the hell did your brain put those two things together for the perfect timing? We don't know. We don't understand it. And I know everybody out here is going to have some moment where they heard something happened and it came into their dream somehow and they experienced it and they never stopped to think about how the fuck did my brain take that noise that it didn't know was going to happen and put it in the perfect place, the soundtrack of my dream, right then. That was a phenomenon that I started to research heavily because I was trying to disprove myself. I wanted to try to disprove all of it. So I'm like, dude, I'm 40-year-old man. I don't need to be walking around thinking I'm talking to ghosts. This can't be happening. It's not possible. But it kind of is, I guess. So that had happened. I lost another uncle, you know, and in that dream, that uncle, he'd kind of sat there in my dream, didn't respond to me, didn't really do nothing. He just kind of looked at me, and I saw regret. I didn't ask, and I felt like a shit for how I acted. Felt like, whatever happened in the past, he passed away. All debts are paid, all things are forgiven. But I didn't feel like that. I'm not a saint. I'm not going to claim to be a saint. I did not feel that way. I still had feelings of, not forgiveness, you know what I mean? So I didn't even ask. Didn't care. I've since come to regret that feeling. That maybe I should have, just talked or something. Maybe nothing I would have said would have made anything better. But it is what it is. That was kind of a weird one, because I was like, later on, like I said, the regret was that if I'm here, if I'm here, then this is a gift. It's a moment that's given randomly. I don't think that it's given for any real whatever, but it's like it's like a little gold flake floating down a stream. If you grab it, you got it. But if it goes past you, you might never find it again. And then the graveyard incident.
Yeah.
The graveyard incident was after that. Not immediately. It was months later. I was driving with my children, and we'd had some bad wind gusts. It was last year, this like random windstorm that came. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. It was kind of crazy. That came and went. It was nerve-wracking living in a camper.
Yeah.
Things you don't think about when you're embarking on the adventure of a camper is one little bad day is, like I said earlier, one bad day I'm homeless. It was the next day after that. Me and the kids went, and I think we just went and got like some candy or something. It wasn't nothing big. And on our way back, we passed a graveyard, and I heard someone in broad daylight. I'm right, like my kids are in the car. I heard someone go, "Hey, can you give us a hand?" And I literally was like, I looked right at my daughter, and I'm like, "With what?" And she's like, "What?" And we literally did the what game for a minute, like, "What do you need a hand with?" She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about right now." As nicely as she could. So I immediately turned to my son, like, did you just say you needed a hand with something? Like, I'm driving. Like, what do you want? And he's like, I didn't. He's like, I'm literally like stuffing my face. Like, I'm not even.
What?
So I'm like, I'm driving really slow because I'm like trying to like talk to them, and I don't want to run off the road. And then I kind of just stopped, and I just kind of glanced over at the graveyard, the cemetery, and I'm like, "So one of you guys?" You know what I mean? Like, and I noticed like all of the flowers in these, I don't know what they're called. It's almost like a flower wreath on these, like a stand, there was a couple of those, and they were all like piled up on this one grave. Everything was blown over, just, so I'm like, I'm a little embarrassed to admit. I'm not going to sit here and admit how much time it took, but I'm going to say that I went through and I fixed everything I could, and I was trying not to step on people, and I'm literally like, I remember saying out loud, my kids are sitting in the car, and I'm like walking through, and I'm like trying not to step on graves, and I'm like straightening stuff, and I'm standing things back up, and I'm like, all right, I hope I got it, like I don't. And I literally said out loud because it was funny to me, when I'm in a panicked kind of state or a shocked kind of state, I usually react with kind of a humor to it because I don't really know anything else, So I literally said, like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to hearing you in the daytime. That's something that I'm not really, inwardly I was thinking I'm not into it, so let's just skip it. Let's not do this. I don't really need this. I think it was after that. It was after that, yeah. It was a lot after that. That was when we found out my dad was real sick.
Mm-hmm.
I went to bed that night calling out for all of them. I told them I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if I just wanted it to be real. I don't know if I created it. I'm still really confused by the whole thing. But I called out over and over inwardly. I was pretty busted up. I was really, really worried, and if I'm being honest, I was just expecting the worst, And they answered. They came and they got me, and they pulled me to them. And I said, it's all gone wrong. Everything's gone wrong. I tried to walk the path. It's all wrong. It's just everything is breaking. It's not working out. It's not going, the way. It's not. I'm trying to do the work, but the work is fighting me. I can't fix any of this. Dad's sick. I need help. I need someone to help him. I need something, anything. They didn't really do or say anything. They just held me there. They just, it was like I forced my way in, and you're not supposed to. So I didn't get anything from it. So that was rough,
In a way, I feel like you did get something. They just sat there and, like, they can't help. Like, they were saying that they can't help you, but they're there for you.
That's all they did. They didn't say anything. Yeah. And then the last time, the very final time I saw him, he came one last time, and the conversation was very short. He didn't say it, but I knew that was going to be it. It was it. It was it. It was the last time. My grandmother, his wife, passed away a few days later. My dad was recovering from lung surgery, for lung cancer. They were worried about COVID, I didn't go to her funeral. I was afraid that if someone might have had it, because at the time there was a scare that someone might have had it. I was afraid I'd bring it back to him. I thought it'd be devastating. He didn't get to go either. Neither one of us got to go. That was it. That was the last time for him. The only other thing I ever saw was after Kat lost her dad. In his typical personality, he was standing on the path up to our forest, our woods, and I walked up, and it was like I knew what had happened. I knew, we'd known he was gone, but when I saw him, I was like, okay, so he's there now. And I walked up, and I remember saying it to him. I said his name, and he kind of turned and looked at me, you know, and I was like, what would he say? You know, well, you can't, there's no, you know, what the hell are you going to say, you know? And I said, it's a work in progress. Because he was looking around, and he literally looked at me, he's like, where's the house? And I was like, it's a work in progress. I don't know what to say. We're not there yet. We're doing our best, you know? And he just kind of nodded. And that was it. There was no profound, you know. I don't have a big moral lesson at all for this. I don't have any kind of words of wisdom, you know, to tell you, hey, you know, this is it. I can't tell you for sure.
Well, real life doesn't wrap up like a sitcom.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. You know, I knew when it was over. I knew because I could feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just kind of this childish. It's a childish way to think, but when it was happening, I felt extraordinary, and now I feel ordinary. But I'm okay with that. Now it's more about doing the things I love to do, getting back to living. And that probably for me was, you know, that's my moral for me. You know, I don't know about anybody out there if you've gone through something or whatever, but for me it was life is for the living. You know, I got through it. You know, I got through a lot of stuff because of it, I guess. You know,
in a way, too, you got those extra moments that you wanted.
Yeah.
You
just can't you can't pick them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pick them, you know. You just do what you can with, like I said, it's a gold flake floating past. You know, that's all you get. You just try. You know, the one thing that was weird was about a month ago, I don't know if it's because of us on the podcast talking about weird stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I had this dream, okay? And this is, like I said, I don't know. Okay, this is out there. I don't know. I'm not gonna say this is the you know the gospel or anything, but this was interesting because I was actually more amused by it when I woke up. I was actually cracking up about it. In my dream, I was at my farm and I was walking through, and I was like, I knew in my dream that I was looking for a Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. I knew it in my soul. I'm like, he's here. He's here. I know he's right. He's like right over this little crest in the hill, and I know he's right there, and I know I'm gonna see him when I creep up, you know. And yeah, in my dream there was this big ass Sasquatch just crouched down, and he was doing something like he was digging up roots or something. You know, I don't know what he was doing, but man, he stopped and looked right at me, and I'm like, holy shit, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were. I mean, like I knew you were big, but I didn't realize how big. And he like stood up and he kind of came to his full height and like literally like alpha stanced me, like showing me like, dude, you better get lost. And I'm sitting there like, oh shit. And then all in my dream, I'm like, I think I should be panicking a little bit here. I need to back off. So I started backing up in my dream. And I'm like, oh dude, you know what? I'm going to talk to him. So irrational. I'm literally the stupidest dream ever, okay? But it takes this weird turn in it, and I'm like...
It hasn't made the weird turn yet.
No, I know. That's not the weird turn. He gets up, and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm your friend. I believe, you know, I believe you're a good creature. You're blah, blah, blah. I love you. You know, whatever. He started towards me because he was, like, grunting at me to, like, get the hell out of here. He like bluff charged me, and he put his big ass hand on my shoulder, and I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. And then as soon as he did that, all those people I described from my previous dreams were standing around him, and they were staring at him, and he literally let go of me and backed off. And I like looked around and I looked at him and I'm like, I guess it's better if you don't touch me. And I'm like, dude, it was over. There was nothing else happened. But when I woke up, I was cracking up about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I told Kat, I'm like, Sasquatch tried to beat me up in my dream, but my all the folks, the other folks, the others, I was like, they were there. And they literally like scared the shit out of him. And he freaked out. Like he panicked. Like it was unnatural to him,
So in a way that this dream was like...
It was like the sum.
No, what I keep thinking is that you actually saw this. You saw Sasquatch.
In my dream.
No, I meant like you sleptwalk and saw Sasquatch.
Oh, dude, don't tell me that.
Yeah, you sleptwalk
Man,
into
that
the
explains
forest.
all the mud and leaves all over me, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
No, you took a shower beforehand.
Yeah,
and then you went back to bed.
That would have been better.
Yeah. It's like you don't want to get into bed dirty.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What am I? Yeah. But yeah,
Okay,
I thought that was...
Yeah.
It was like a fun dream that happened that... It was amusing. It was like... Dude, Sasquatch just tried to kick my ass, and then he got scared by the other side folks that are, hanging around or whatever. I was like, dude, that's crazy. Like, that's scary, But it was cool. Like, it was actually cool, But it didn't give me the same feeling when I woke up that, I didn't get that, like, I've been somewhere. That's an interesting note, too, is that every time one of those happened, I would wake up like I'd not slept that night. I'd be dozing all day and just miserable. And my wife has pointed out that I'd usually be in kind of a shitty mood, or either like depressed or just pissy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been there. He beats me sometimes.
I believe
I'm
that.
joking.
Yeah. Well, he like bluff charged me. Tyler did, and then
I had to smack him.
like whack. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to keep putting it off, and I thought it would, It's hard to tell it, honestly. It's
we have some of those parts, like, I can understand. It's tough. Especially, like, if it gave you that kind of feeling, like, that, like, it was too real.
Yeah.
It's too real for you to, and especially, like, I know how close you were to your grandfather, so... That was like tough in itself,
yeah.
And then plus on top of it, like hearing, like having actual things come to light,
That was the part I never could.
Outside of the dream,
yeah.
And that's like, no matter what, I feel like that would trip anybody, like stop them in their tracks. I feel like I would throw up if that happened to me.
I can fully say with confidence that I thought I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
I thought I was absolutely losing my mind. I was like, okay, this is it. It's only going to get worse.
The stick is broke.
I thought it was just going to progressively get worse and worse, and whatever happened after that, I guess, But I don't. Okay, after the last time, that's been it. I haven't nothing.
But yeah, like always, man. Like you. Thanks for sharing. Like that's like I've heard these stories, and I'm glad that you finally told everybody else, because you can't be the only one that's had this.
It would be really cool if someone would reach out. I would love to email and especially
like if you guys had the same kind of experience, like me, like, and the thing of it is, like, your version might be different from theirs, because it might be, I feel like it might, how to put it, like, you interpret it your own way, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
So their visions might be way different from what you are, but I would more look for the feeling.
Yep.
If they had the same feelings that you did, and I feel like that would be the best thing to base it off of.
There's this was always funny to me, is during my I met a Native American. I don't know. Is witch a bad word? I mean, is that something we're allowed to say?
I don't know.
She calls herself a witch.
I mean, if she calls herself
a witch, then yeah.
Okay, well,
if she calls herself a witch, She's a witch.
Yeah. So I told her, you know, what it was all about. And I was like, well, maybe I can get the Native American perspective. And I can't help it. This is cool. It was just cool because she just, you know, kind of was talking to me, and she was like, hey, you know, back in, you know, these times, even now, they use sweat lodges to try to get to this.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. Like, you get in a tent.
They like try to go into the trance and try to peek into that, you know. And those guys that are, I guess, like kind of like a shaman that do it pretty regularly, what they're called is awesome. They're called ghost walkers.
That's awesome.
And when I heard that, I'm like, yeah. Because I'm sorry, I love that song.
Right.
It is.
And I loved it 10 times more after finding that out. That's Ghost Walking by Lamb of God, too, by the way. If you guys want to listen to something freaking amazing, check it out. I don't care. I'm going to plug Lamb of God.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're coming up on an hour.
Yep.
Good way to start the second season.
Now I don't have to worry about telling it.
Yeah. It's all like it's off your chest, but now we gotta wait for the feedback, man. You're probably going to have to talk about it some more, but
yeah,
I feel like you're helping a lot of people out there with that.
The whole thing, I actually typed out the whole thing in much greater detail over a period of years.
Yeah.
So I still have all of that. So at some point in the future, if anybody wants to read it in more detail, then time is the thief of memory. So
yeah,
there's gonna be, just like anything, there's gonna be some inconsistency or something I misremembered or whatever. But usually when you write it or type it out as soon as you wake up, it's pretty dead on. And it's weird too is when you do that, writing down your dream as soon as you wake up. Every time you read it afterwards, you will recall the whole dream vividly, and that's a powerful thing too. I don't know if there's a science for that, but it works. I was actually told that by an old friend to do that, and I was like, all right, I'll try it, and it actually worked. So that's cool. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe one day when we have members or something, I'll put the documents up, let them flick through it, see what they think.
So yeah, guys, welcome back.
Yep.
It's the first episode in the bag. Hope that you guys are I can't talk. You guys are still here, and you're going to continue this journey with us, because we're going to have a lot more stuff coming up.
Absolutely.
So, I guess if you guys don't have anything else,
how do you follow that?
We'll shut this bitch down.
I was waiting for the gun effect. He's like, right. All right, guys, you take care of each other out there. Let's have a new season. Let's have a new year. Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's get it up.